The other thing about a Sullivan building is it's meant to be seen in motion.
Mm-hmm.
And so you see a photograph, you're at a disadvantage. And it's
because you're at one point. You're only seeing one point of the building.
And the other thing that actually works even better than we thought, and this actually works with the Mies building too, is here's the Wainwright building. This Sullivan considered his definitive kind of where this is said he broke to create a logical form to the skyscraper. And there you have a strong base. First two floors are different in functions. You have stores. The second floor was always where like larger real estate offices were. The middle is all a cellular grid of identical offices, but you let it soar. But then the building has to end. Remember, it's nature and it's building at the same time. So the two, just like the ornament, the two are playing and tug of war with each other. Not tug of war, tug of harmony with each other. So, and you can see here how the solid stone cladding of the base and the energy pulls off of that. It's all about transition.
So it's like a launching platform almost for them.
The energy is reaching up here and it starts to change directions. Pull out like that. And then the slab cornice, which meets the sky. After all, it's how it meets the sky is important to how it meets the ground. This is one of the round windows from the top floor. You walk towards the building, that starts to open up. This starts to change. This is also the way light and shadow. And if you can do the same thing with here, solid wall, and now that's opened up.
That's amazing. And that's how you actually experience the building then as you approach it.
And that was totally a deliberate and conscious act on his part. And so you don't have to work in the building, but you notice it on the streets. After the fair, Sullivan was asked by Burnham to explain the building. And usually Sullivan kind of left it more, he never wanted to say, this is how you think, this is how it should be. You should feel the building, just like you feel a sunrise or a sunset or whatnot. But this is probably one of the most detailed descriptions of a single building and what he was trying to do and what he was trying to get that he ever created. Building is alive. And you have this idea, you are part of nature. And by your ability to think, reason, and create, you can bring it alive. And you put it as one creative thought, so your mind can take in engineering, about the metal frame, all of the realities of the building, what the client needs, but you are giving it a form that is alive and expressive. And so you make a building that people will emotionally react to, but one that at the same time is honest to the basics of its structure.
But how do you see that, in the difference between that and like how it went with like Mies, where there is no actual ornament, actually the structure of the building is the ornament?
Mies and Sullivan are both creative abstraction. It's just a different way of expressing. In fact, I would say he's the inheritor, but it's actually, because many of the things, like for example, you know, the tails of the mullions on the outside of 860, 880. Those buildings were designed for you to have a reaction to. If you were going to just take a straight frame, if you took any of a stripped down building, it wouldn't look like that. You'd have a big old box. But the idea of something that light and shadow, sun moving across will catch light, and how that...
So it gives it the same type of movement that this sort of does.
Right. And so it is about vibrant life and movement. These buildings, the theme on every one of these things, from the first one to the last, is these buildings are filled with an underlying energy. And they're very much a building, they're very honest, they're very expressive of the forces of architecture, but they are given this energy and this life, and there's this energy manifests itself in the ornament.
So they're not divisible in your mind then, basically?
No, absolutely not. And one is a part of the other. In fact, in some cases, you have a building filled with all this energy, and you have material. That energy has to release itself somehow. And so these are almost like escape valves in many cases, where it's pure undulating. And you can see it's twisting, it's moving, it's sweeping across.
So it's almost like a metaphor for the activity of the people who are actually using these buildings, but for their energy that they're bringing to the...
It's all part, it's a participatory building, and it's an emotion, and it is a emotional expression by the architect, and it is something that is supposed to be emotionally received by the people who are there, but also people who use the building. They are designed that they are efficient. At the same time, Sullivan created these as one cohesive thought in his head. He was thinking in terms of how the building was used, how you take the trash out, how he thought of them all as one thing. And the other thing too is having this rare gift to think in 3 dimensions that not everybody can do. He could move through space as he was planning these buildings and come out with a sketch. That was the thing about his mind. But the one thing probably with Sullivan, because he felt his mission was not to say do buildings that look like that. He's saying learn to think passionately, learn to think expressively out of yourself.